Hi, I'm Kelly. As a life coach, I've noticed that the work I do with people isn't about their relationships or their jobs. It isn't about their kids or even how to find a way to get all the laundry done. All the work we do together centers around finding the answer to one simple question. What does it mean to live a fulfilled life? Join me as I explore this question and more in conversation with others in the Fulfilling Life interviews with me, Kelly Dahl, as your host. Hello, it's Kelly, and I have the great privilege today to be talking with Rachel Oz about what it means to live a fulfilled life. Rachel, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being a part of this interview series. I would love you to start by sharing with everybody a little bit about your work.
Sure. So what my work is I'm a licensed psychologist. I've been in private practice here in St. Paul, Minnesota now for almost 20 years. And my favorite thing in my work is working with people with self-esteem, and more deeply than that, really helping them see more clearly and live into more fully their beauty and address what's getting in the way of them really seeing that. And then in addition to that, I'm an artist and an author now, and I love blending all of those together in a way that affirms people. And I'm also a mother of two boys who are 17 and 14. There's
Wonderful.
A little picture. Mm-hmm.
All the many hats we wear too, right?
Right.
One thing that really drew me to your work, Rachel, is this blending of being a therapist and psychologist and then the creative work that you do. And I love the way you describe your focus as a psychologist of helping people bring their beauty forward. Because that's something that is such a message in your artwork as well. So it's great to hear you describe that blend so nicely. So today we're talking about finding fulfillment in life and what it means to live a fulfilled life. And it sounds like that's really a focus of the work you do with people and with yourself already. So a perfect person to ask this question. So how, Rachel, would you answer that question of what does it mean to live a fulfilled life?
There's so much to that, and we could just do a whole slumber party, hours and hours of giggling and crying and whatever would surround that and be in it. But some of what I think about is paying attention to what brings, I'll just speak in first person, but I'm of course hoping that this applies, there's resonance to others. But paying attention to what brings me joy and following that and not stopping myself. So I might think, oh, I feel drawn to explore something new in my life. I was having a conversation with a woman in the locker room before I swam this morning, and she was saying, I feel like it, and she's in the middle of her life, her kids are graduating from high school, and she said something about she feels she's at this point in her life where she is opening up to something new, and that she feels like she is done being a teacher. She's not 100% sure what's new, except maybe she wants to take writing classes. And my internal thought is, so take writing classes, that's fantastic, and that she doesn't need to actually know anything more than that, and that sometimes we just have enough, like night driving, like you just see a little bit, but it's enough to know where to steer and to keep following that. And you don't need to see a whole vista to move forward. That it's like keep following the pieces where your heart leaps up a little bit, and keep following that and where the energy is. Sometimes where the energy is, interestingly enough, and difficultly, that's not really a word, but in the moment it is, and difficultly enough, it's in a painful place. And I think sometimes it's also following my focus if the higher energy is where it's painful, then that's where I need to go and dig in. And maybe I'll come out of that with a new song, and it'll be honest, and it will then lead me to somewhere else. But it will be honest and authentic. So I think there's something about paying attention to where my deepest deeps, whether it's my dreams or during the day when I'm in the car, or those sort of in-between places and thoughts occur to me. Again, sometimes painful, sometimes joyful, but leaning way into those and seeing how they're leading me.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And what I'm hearing there is listening to these whispers that you have that sometimes are really, really quiet and you have no idea where they're coming from, but allowing yourself to listen and see what it might lead you to without knowing the answers. And that's not an easy thing, right? It's not easy to trust that intuition and to trust those voices that you are hearing, and to give into that pull, especially when it's not a super strong one. So I think of that as the things that you can set up in your life to make sure that you are moving towards fulfillment. So for you, Rachel, what are some of the things that you have in your life that allow you to listen to that and to keep you moving towards fulfillment in your life?
Well, one of the things that I have in my life is forms, first of all, of exercise. So I do a mix of running and swimming, and in each of those, it gives me space where I'm alone and physically moving, which for me tends to also move my thoughts and internal space into a little bit of a different radio station, if you will. And so in those places, not in the first few minutes. The first few minutes is just sort of gobbledygook in my brain, oh, this is hard. Woo, my breath is going fast. Woo, just super ordinary, bodily, very concrete things. But then after I'm in it for a little bit, I find my mind starts to go into the deeper places. And so those are definitely realms where I do that. I also am a big fan of naps. And so, I have said that if I could have little 5 to 10 minute naps between almost every activity in the day, I totally would be up for that if I could.
That's awesome.
They just, of course, are just that little bit of refreshment, but I also just find that my mind clicks somewhere else. And I realize different things. Okay, now I'm just going to ask you, could you repeat the question? Because I had a other chunk of something that came to me, and I know it'll come back if you say the question.
Yes, sure. So it's asking about what are the things that you do in your life that can keep you on that path to fulfillment and listening to the pulls and the whispers.
Right on. I also think for me, the creative process invites me into that and also reinforces it. So it's a place for me to open up, but also to ground those thoughts.
And each of those things that you've mentioned, the exercise, the solo exercise especially, and the naps and the creative process are all things that help to turn off that chattery, analytical brain that we have that can slow down some of that exciting, generative, intuitive thinking that happens.
Right, exactly. So, and then I just even add to the pile, and it also helps me to be less fearful. So if I can just refresh myself or get my body moving, it also helps me to be more brave, because I just notice my thoughts are more positive and more super brave.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And more sort of leapy. Like I'm willing to... I just go into a more poetic speak, and I feel like things are more possible, and I just go somewhere else. Versus if I'm just depleted or not moving enough, I can have more anxious thoughts and less inspired.
Yeah, it's that intense connection between our minds and our bodies, and when your body feels strong, it does allow everything to flow in a different way. So with all of those great things in your life to keep you on this path of feeling fulfilled and feeling vibrant, what are some of the things that get in your way and can come up as stumbling blocks? Because we all have those, right?
Yes. Things that can get in my way. And the first one is probably the truest for me, and it's just so obvious given everything I've said, is the inverse, which is when I'm fatigued. So when I'm fatigued, I am more anxious, I'm more fuzzy in my brain, way less inspired, and a little more agitated. And I just have way less to give to people, and especially, of course, the people who are closest to me, like in my family or closest friends. So there is something about that refreshment that's so key for me. And other things that get in the way, I think if I am not discerning what I'm saying yes to enough, so if my activities or what I'm engaging in aren't feeding me, then it creates some static or something, and it just, I'm less happy.
Yeah, which would also affect the fatigue too,
right.
if you're saying yes too much, especially to things that aren't going to be feeding your soul. That's gonna bring that fatigue up and leave you feeling depleted. For sure. So
I don't have enough. So there's the be careful what I say yes to, and then I also think there's something about fresh air and just being near simple things, grass, a flower, hearing birds singing. You know, one of my favorite things is actually running or walking in the super early morning, actually dawn or dusk. It's just such a magical time. It's Cinderella, you know? All the little creatures come out, and it's this certain light that's filtering in through our world. And so I think if I don't allow the fairy tale into my life, that gets in the way.
That is really beautiful. So what are some of the things that you do to make sure you allow the fairy tale into your life? That's what I'm gonna hold on to, that letting the fairy tale into your life, because it's so true, and those times that are magical and sacred and full of life. So again, what are some of the things that you do to make sure that you can keep the fatigue away and keep that fairy tale?
Yeah. Well, even yesterday morning, I'm just a chronically early riser for the last few years, and so yesterday, and I'm trying to hold myself accountable to this. So like I'll get up at 4 and look at Facebook and some of that social media a little bit. And so I'm trying to not spend too much time there and say, okay, now get to your, I'm writing right now a new book, get over there and do that instead. Or, okay, Rachel, yesterday I told myself, I just made myself get up, and it was already getting bright out at 5. And I could hear the birds through the windows, and I was like, get outside and run, go. And the whole run was loud bird song, loud. And I don't think I saw one person. It was all birds.
Yeah.
And so it's knowing when these windows are. And, so like that morning time, it goes like this, and it's going to just pass, like the sun rising. And I just know the point where I can jump through it.
Yeah.
So just being vigilant and intentional about whether it's that or how many other things can be like that.
Yeah. And I think there's a trust there too, and knowing that is going to serve you so much better than these other things. And it doesn't mean that you don't go on Facebook and you don't play on social media and explore that space, but you also remember that there's this magical opportunity to run with the birds.
Right. So the other thing I would add is, I haven't really mentioned people. I do love people. And so, the other piece to me that is magical and fairy tale-ish is honestly loving people. And so all of this in the end is to offer my heart back out and love people the best that I can, as messy as that can be and as much as it can flow sometimes. But with all that, that is ultimately where I go and what makes it all complete for me.
What a wonderful way to wrap it all up, Rachel. That's really beautiful, that all of these things are to take care of yourself and to help yourself feel fulfilled and happy and vibrant and all of these things, but also you want to feel that way so that you can give your love fully and completely to other people, which it's the service of it, and it's that loving connection that really is possibly the pinnacle of fulfillment. It's a tough claim to make, but
absolutely. I mean, a good hug, isn't it the best?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally, and helping people see that they can have that with other people, and that when you talked about the work you do as a psychologist and helping people to see their beauty and how much easier it is to give that hug and to receive that hug when you see your beauty and when you can feel your beauty too.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you, and I hope that you have many days with fairy tale mornings and evenings and lots of magic. Can you tell everybody? Thank you. Can you tell everybody where they can find you online and about your book?
Okay. Thank you for asking. Okay. I would highlight two places in particular to find me online, and one is my blog, and that is one word, allididwaslisten.com, and the other primary place is my online Etsy shop, which is racheloz.com, spelled RACHEL, AWES as in Sam.com. And at my Etsy shop, you can find my book that came out last November called All I Did Was Listen. And it's there as well as at Amazon.com and in a number of brick and mortar bookstores. Actually, just this week it got out in 7 different Barnes & Noble bookstores in Minnesota, which was my big sort of gleeful news. I was so excited.
Congratulations. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Rachel, and hope to connect again soon.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. All right, bye.
Bye.